All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is our lesson summary for lesson 14. On this lesson, we were looking at the angle relationships for when you have parallel lines. Okay, so here's today's goals. If I have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, I can identify alternate interior angles and use that to find missing angle measurements. So two new things here that we saw are these words right here, transversal, we'll see what that is, and then alternate interior angles. We went over those and where those angles are inside a diagram. And we're going to be using that to find the missing measurements of angles. So usually with these, you'll be figuring out what angles are and figuring out what they are. Okay, so here is a quick definition. A transversal is when you have two parallel lines, one pair of parallel lines. So you have line L right here is parallel to line M. And this line K, this is the transversal. It crosses both. Transversal is a pair of parallel lines, a line that meets each of the parallel lines at exactly one point. It can only meet the lines at one point because the line crosses that way. So this line here is a transversal. It transverses or crosses both of the parallel lines. Okay, and now here in this diagram, I want you to look at it. What do you notice about the angles in vertex B and the angles in vertex E? So here we have the angle vertex B right here and vertex E. You should notice that the angles are pretty much the same in both. They are exactly the same and basically in the same position. 63, 63, you have 63 and 63. 117, 117, 117, 117. So these are, the angles are the same. Now I want you to notice here on these lines, look at AC and DF. These lines are parallel lines. That makes a difference. That is the key of the lesson. This line right here, HJ, this is the transversal. It crosses both of the lines. So now remember that these angles are the same. They are congruent to each other. Okay? So alternate interior angles are angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So here you have the transversal. On this diagram, A and D are alternate interior angles. They are inside, they are in between the parallel lines, and they are on opposite sides of the transversal. Same for C and B. They are in between the parallel lines, and they are on opposite sides of the transversal. So C and B are alternate interior angles to each other as well. Okay? And now what you saw in the previous diagram was that the angles are the same. So that works. So look right here, 63 and 63. These two angles are congruent. These are alternate interior angles. So those angles are congruent. That is the key of the lesson, is that when you have parallel lines, the alternate interior angles are congruent. What about 117 and 117? These are also alternate interior angles, and they are congruent to each other, okay? So that's what we use to find the missing angles. So alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so now here is applying those ideas of the lesson. Can you find all the missing angle measures? So here you have a diagram. You have two parallel lines. You have this one right here and this one right here being parallel. So now, if I were to say find angle C, you know the measurement of angle C because it is an alternate interior angle to angle 60. So this angle right here, angle C, measures 60 degrees. That is because alternate interior angles are congruent. And then you can also find the other angles right here. Angle D and angle C make a straight angle. So when they add up to 180, so this angle will be 120. And then you also know that angle E is also 120. So these make a straight angle, so they add up to 120. And then these two are alternate interior. So you can find a lot of angles using that idea of what is congruent and what is not congruent, what are supplementary. Okay, so today's goals were looking and identifying that two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. Know which ones are the alternate interior angles and use those to find the missing angle measurements in diagrams. All right, thank you.